The cold air hissed gently as the sealed doors of the Sovereign Reaper's grand chamber slid apart, revealing a bleak stage bathed in clinical, white light. Lieutenant Elena Marquez's heart pounded fiercely, but she kept her breathing even, eyes set forward, each step measured. The Zakarian guards flanking her moved silently, their armored boots whispering over polished metal floors. Elena's wrists burned from the metal restraints, but pain was merely information, a reminder she still lived, still resisted. Before her, atop an obsidian platform, stood Overlord Terex Keth. His towering figure dominated the space effortlessly, a shimmering metallic robe cascading down angular shoulders. His gaze was cold, reptilian eyes narrowing as Elena approached. There was an unspoken power in his stillness, an oppressive authority radiating effortlessly, but Elena raised her chin, defiance blazing. She halted at the marked spot before him, standing firm as silence consumed the chamber. Dozens of Zakarian officers and human prisoners stood behind translucent observation panels, watching with bated breath. The weight of their stares pressed on Elena's shoulders, heavy but oddly strengthening. Lieutenant Elena Marquez, Keth's voice resonated deep and authoritative, the famed hero of Earth's resistance. Many of your species kneel before me willingly, yet you persistently refuse. Fascinating. I don't kneel, Elena replied calmly, meeting his gaze directly. Bravery or foolishness? Keth questioned, pacing slowly around her. Perhaps humans struggle distinguishing between the two. She felt the soft tremors beneath her feet as his massive form circled, predatory and analytical. Her fists clenched tighter, but Elena forced her body to stay relaxed, denying Keth any satisfaction of fear. Bravery frightens you, she countered steadily. You've seen our history, our resilience. You conquer planets, but you cannot conquer our will. Words, Keth sneered dismissively, leaning closer. His breath carried a sharp metallic scent. Your species speaks of bravery, but I've witnessed their surrender firsthand. Kneel now, and I'll spare your comrades further suffering. Elena tilted her head slightly, refusing to be baited. You mistake silence for surrender. You've taken our homes, not our spirit. You'll never understand the difference. A murmur rippled faintly among the observing humans behind the glass, a subtle tremor of hope vibrating in the cold silence. Keth's eyes flickered, noticing the shift. His thin, reptilian lips twisted into something resembling amusement, but Elena saw frustration simmer beneath it. You think yourself inspiring, Lieutenant, Keth said with forced patience, but your defiance merely prolongs their torment. You carry the responsibility for their fate. He motioned to a monitor that lit up vividly, revealing terrified human faces in crowded cells. Elena recognized some friends, comrades, people who trusted her. Their eyes pleaded silently. The message was clear. Defiance costs, Keth whispered, his voice softer, coaxing dangerously. Is your pride worth their pain? Her pulse quickened. For a brief moment, guilt surged through Elena's chest, chokingly real. Then she remembered Earth, the burning cities, shattered dreams, cries of families torn apart. No compromise could bring genuine peace, only slow destruction. Elena took a calming breath. You don't offer mercy, she stated coldly. Only submission. I won't play your games. Keth straightened, irritation clear. He gestured sharply, and two guards seized Elena, roughly forcing her down to her knees. She winced as pain spiked sharply through her legs, yet forced her gaze upward defiantly. You misunderstand your position, Keth stated, venom now lacing his voice. I control your very existence. One word, and you vanish. Forgotten. Erased. Elena gritted her teeth, slowly rising back onto trembling legs despite the guard's attempts to hold her down. Sweat trickled down her temples, but determination sparked fiercely within her. You have strength, Keth, she admitted quietly, her voice resonating like tempered steel. But you fear something greater than power, hope. Humanity isn't defeated until our hope dies, and hope is something you can't extinguish by force alone. The Zakarian overlord paused, eyes narrowing dangerously. He moved slowly towards Elena, his shadow swallowing her. You risk everything, Kath hissed. And for what? A foolish, intangible concept? Elena looked around deliberately, meeting the eyes of humans observing from behind the panels. Even through glass, she sensed their quiet resolve building like an invisible current. Hope isn't intangible, she said clearly, her voice steady, unwavering. It's the spark lighting rebellions, igniting hearts. You see only bodies enslaved, cities conquered, but humanity is more than flesh and steel. We're ideas, dreams, defiance given form. Destroy me, and others will rise in my place. You can't imprison an idea. For a long, heavy moment, silence clung to the chamber. Kath's lips parted slightly, uncertainty flickering behind those alien eyes, the first sign of genuine doubt Elena had ever witnessed. He regained his composure swiftly, straightening rigidly. You'll learn differently, he finally responded, his voice quieter, tinged with suppressed fury. You'll understand the folly of your beliefs through agony. I'll break your spirit personally, Lieutenant. Elena didn't flinch, meeting his declaration with quiet defiance. You can try. Kath turned abruptly, robes rustling in agitation. Return her to confinement. As guards gripped her roughly, Elena kept her eyes locked forward, ignoring the raw ache in her limbs, maintaining dignity in every step. She glimpsed a younger Zakarian officer hesitating near the exit, his dark eyes thoughtful, troubled by doubt. Their gazes connected briefly, and Elena saw something extraordinary, cracks forming within an empire that once seemed unshakable. The doors hissed closed behind her, sealing away the oppressive figure of Kath. She was alone again, aching, exhausted, but unbroken. Elena Marquez understood clearly what Kath feared most, that her courage could ignite a flame capable of engulfing even the mightiest empire. In that cold corridor, as guards marched her back to her cell, Elena allowed herself a faint, private smile. Kath's fortress was mighty, his armies vast. Yet today she had seen weakness. And in the heart of that weakness lived humanity's greatest strength, hope. She knew now, unquestionably, that resistance would never die as long as humanity refused to surrender its spirit. The metallic clang of her cell door echoed sharply, leaving Elena alone in a small, sterile chamber bathed in dull artificial light. Her wrists throbbed, pulse beating insistently beneath reddened skin. She paced the perimeter, thoughts racing behind a carefully guarded expression. Kath's eyes haunted her memory, not as cruel confidence, but that brief flicker of doubt that whispered a critical truth: the Empire's invulnerability was a carefully crafted lie. Footsteps interrupted her thoughts, stopping outside her cell. Elena turned slowly as the door hissed open, revealing a Zakarian officer she recognized from earlier. Unlike his comrades, his presence lacked the usual aggressive arrogance. A curious uncertainty shadowed his reptilian features. "I am Officer Alvek," he said cautiously, eyes scanning her face. His voice was quiet, measured. "May I speak with you? Do I have a choice?" Elena replied evenly. He stepped fully inside, sealing the door behind him. A silence settled heavily between them. Alvek hesitated, eyes briefly shifting downward before meeting her gaze again. "You surprised many today. Especially Overlord Kath. I suppose he's not accustomed to resistance." "It's more than defiance," Alvek clarified, subtly respectful. "It's belief. Your people, humans, you're weaker, smaller, technologically inferior. Yet you speak of strength we cannot measure. Kath doesn't understand it, and neither do I." Elena studied him thoughtfully. She saw vulnerability beneath his military bearing, an openness rare among the Empire's ranks. This was not deception, it was genuine confusion. "Strength isn't always power," she explained softly. "Sometimes it's surviving against impossible odds. The courage to choose what's right, even knowing you might lose everything. You truly believe this?" She smiled faintly. "It's how we endure." Alvek shifted uncomfortably, visibly conflicted. "Yet your resistance will only increase suffering. Kath will not relent. He will punish your defiance by harming innocents." Elena felt a pang of dread ripple through her chest. The image of frightened faces behind prison glass returned vividly. Her jaw tightened, fingers curling into fists as she tried suppressing the emotion betraying her composure. Would submitting spare them? She asked sharply. Or would Keth simply find another excuse for cruelty? Alvek hesitated, gaze flickering with uncertainty. I don't know. But your defiance challenges his authority openly. He cannot allow it unpunished. And yet here you are, warning me, Elena observed carefully. You question him too, don't you? His eyes widened slightly, revealing more than his guarded expression intended. Alvek quickly regained composure, straightening rigidly. I've never questioned orders. Until today, Elena pressed gently. Otherwise, why speak with me privately? His eyes met hers, searching her expression. I needed to understand. You openly face annihilation, yet your people draw strength from it. It contradicts everything we know. Your bravery, this irrational determination, how does it sustain you? Elena exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of her words, knowing their significance beyond this tiny room. You see humans as conquered victims. But survival isn't mere existence, it's about what we believe, who we fight for. Every act of resistance affirms our humanity, our dignity. Without that, nothing matters. The silence stretched, broken only by Alvek's careful breathing. His eyes reflected turbulent thoughts before he finally spoke again. The Empire believes strength lies in dominance, but I've watched planets conquered, each one colder, emptier afterward. Your Earth is different. Your people fight not for territory, but ideals. It feels admirable. Elena stepped closer, voice lowered yet compelling. Then help us. Resistance isn't hopeless, not if even one Zakarian officer dares question the Empire. He stepped back abruptly, startled by the implication. That's treason. Or courage, Elena corrected him firmly. Alvek's chest rose and fell heavily, uncertainty written plainly across his face. Before he could reply, an urgent signal flashed across his wrist comms, interrupting their tense exchange. He quickly activated it, face growing grim as he listened. What happened? Elena asked sharply, sensing dread behind his sudden silence. Keth, Alvek murmured bitterly. He's preparing a broadcast. He's gathering prisoners from a settlement in your region. Unless you publicly surrender, he'll execute them. Her heart twisted violently, guilt stabbing like an icy blade. Elena felt a sudden surge of anger, frustration boiling fiercely. She turned from him sharply, fists clenched tight, breath trembling slightly as she tried to regain calm. You must surrender publicly, Alvek pressed urgently, voice nearly pleading. Spare their lives. I've seen these executions, Keth has no mercy. Don't let your defiance become their death. Elena's mind raced, emotion warring with logic. She knew precisely what Keth hoped, humiliation of humanity's last symbol of resistance, extinguishing their fragile hope. But could she bear the cost? Slowly, she steadied herself, turning again towards Alvek. If I surrender, the hope we've fought to preserve dies with me. Your hope won't matter to the dead, Alvek insisted, tone desperate now. Please, reconsider. Elena felt the gravity of her choice deep within her chest, suffocating and heavy. Yet, within that darkness, clarity arose sharply. Her voice hardened again, determined and unwavering. No surrender, she whispered. Keth will kill them either way. It's how he rules, through fear. But if humanity sees me broken, they'll lose more than lives. They'll lose the will to fight. Alvek's eyes widened, understanding finally dawning. His expression shifted, troubled yet undeniably moved by her quiet courage. I wish I had your certainty, he admitted softly. You do, Elena said firmly, meeting his gaze directly. You're here, risking everything just to understand. You already doubt your empire, otherwise, you wouldn't care. He stood silently, eyes shadowed with inner conflict. After a long pause, he nodded slowly, turning toward the door. Just before stepping out, he glanced back. I don't know what your defiance will achieve, Alvek said quietly. But perhaps, Lieutenant Marquez, Hope isn't as powerless as we imagined. As the door sealed shut, Elena felt the isolation of her cell acutely again. Yet this time, the solitude wasn't hollow, it was charged with possibility. Alvek had come questioning her humanity, but left questioning his own empire. Elena knew clearly now, defiance wasn't futile. Every quiet rebellion, each subtle doubt planted, mattered more than Keth's threats. She breathed deeply, strengthening her resolve, certain now more than ever. Hope could shatter empires. The bright lights blazed fiercely across Elena's face as the broadcast began, illuminating her features in cold clarity. Bound and standing tall on the grand stage of the Sovereign Reaper's central atrium, she remained steady. Her pulse thundered quietly, hidden beneath a practiced expression of defiance. The crowd stood hushed, eyes locked upon her, alien and human alike, awaiting spectacle or tragedy. Overlord Terex Keth entered the platform slowly, his presence filling the hall with menacing silence. Each step measured, calculated. He stopped beside Elena, towering above her slender frame, arrogance etched into his alien features. Keth motioned forward, gesturing toward a giant holographic projection that flickered to life behind them. The image showed humans imprisoned, frightened and exhausted, guarded by armored Zakarian troops. Elena recognized faces, neighbors, friends, strangers, all helpless beneath the Empire's cruelty. Lieutenant Marquez, Keth's voice boomed, amplified across the chamber, today you decide their fate. Your defiance has consequences. Elena felt the sting of guilt gnaw sharply at her resolve but forced calm onto her face, refusing him satisfaction. You threaten innocent lives to hide your own weakness, she accused fiercely, her voice clear and penetrating. Killing them proves nothing, except how deeply you fear humanity. Keth smiled thinly, dangerous and predatory. I fear nothing. Then why do you tremble? Elena challenged, voice steady, filled with quiet certainty. She sensed the chamber's subtle shift, the murmur of shock, doubt flickering among observers. Your empire was built on fear, not strength. Fear that one day someone would stand before you and refuse submission. Your empire survives only by silence, not respect. Keth stiffened visibly, eyes burning coldly. Enough. Kneel or witness their end. Elena turned slightly, looking directly into the eyes of the imprisoned humans projected above. Their gazes locked with hers, afraid but hopeful, desperate yet courageous. Elena nodded softly, acknowledging their bravery, silently promising justice. Turning back to Keth, Elena straightened defiantly. You won't stop with them. If I surrender, you'll always demand more obedience, more sacrifices. But humanity will never again kneel. Keth's fury erupted visibly. He gestured harshly, and the hologram shifted violently. Guards raised weapons, prisoners recoiled in terror. Elena's heart raced painfully, guilt tightening sharply in her throat. Stop! A voice echoed powerfully across the atrium, freezing everyone in place. Officer Alvek stepped forward, breaking ranks. His eyes blazed with determination, voice strong and unwavering. This isn't strength, Overlord, it's tyranny. How long can we justify our empire with cruelty? The chamber went deathly silent. Elena's eyes met Alvek's, gratitude and pride surging inside her. Other Zakarians exchanged uncertain glances, shifting uncomfortably. Alvek, Keth growled dangerously, voice trembling with barely restrained fury, you betray your oath. No, Alvek countered bravely, stepping fully into view. My oath was to justice. Lieutenant Marquez showed me humanity's courage isn't weakness, it's dignity, something our empire lost long ago. Murmurs intensified across the chamber, a tangible uncertainty blooming among Zakarian ranks. Elena spoke clearly, seeing her chance. Look at yourselves, she urged passionately, her voice vibrant with conviction. Your empire destroys worlds and believes itself strong. But strength isn't dominance, it's defending the innocent. We're not your enemies, tyranny is. The silence stretched unbearably, tension crackling sharply through the hall. Keth turned slowly, facing Elena, voice bitterly cold. You poison minds with dangerous fantasies, human. I speak truth, Elena retorted, stepping forward despite her bindings, voice firm and compelling. You see defiance as weakness, but it's our greatest strength. You conquer planets but never their spirit, and that terrifies you. Keth's eyes widened briefly, genuine fear flickering visibly behind his facade of strength. Anger surged, his composure shattered completely. Execute the prisoners, Keth commanded, voice trembling harshly. End this defiance now. No! Alvek roared furiously, drawing his weapon defensively. Several Zakarian officers, inspired by Alvek's bravery, hesitated, then followed suit, openly opposing the command. Elena watched astonished, hope igniting vividly in her chest. Humans in the chamber began rising defiantly, shouts echoing courageously against oppression. Panic rippled visibly through Keth's loyalists, their authority fracturing before Elena's eyes. Keth stepped back hurriedly, confusion and anger warring openly on his face. Traitors, he shouted desperately, pointing accusingly at Alvek. You'll doom us all. No, Elena intervened firmly, stepping forward again. They choose humanity, something you've forgotten. Look around, your empire built on fear collapses at the first genuine act of courage. Alvek moved quickly, severing Elena's restraints with practiced efficiency. She rubbed her wrists gratefully, nodding appreciation. Human prisoners on the projection cheered wildly, understanding their liberation was finally tangible. Keth's presence diminished, strength stripped entirely. His gaze locked helplessly onto Elena, voice strained bitterly. What happens now, Lieutenant? Rebellion? War? Elena met his defeated eyes evenly. Change. Freedom. An end to fear. Keth's shoulders slumped slightly, finally accepting defeat. Guards approached cautiously, weapons lowered, clearly confused, no longer loyal to blind tyranny. Alvek addressed them directly, voice firm and commanding. Your empire asks obedience without honor. Elena Marquez showed courage worthy of respect. Today, we choose honor over blind obedience. Slowly, silently, weapons fell, metallic clatters echoing sharply through the atrium. Elena stepped forward boldly, lifting her gaze proudly, voice calm and resonant. Today, humanity stands not alone, but alongside anyone brave enough to reject cruelty. Empires built on oppression always fall, but courage creates bonds stronger than chains. Keth stepped back, isolated, defeated completely. Alvek turned toward Elena respectfully, nodding deeply. Your defiance changed everything. Perhaps peace is finally within reach. Elena smiled gently, feeling hope surge warmly, beautifully within her chest. Around her, humans and aliens alike stood unified, no longer enemies, just souls recognizing each other's dignity clearly. No, Elena said softly, eyes alight with unwavering strength. This isn't defiance anymore, it's liberation. Above them, the projection dissolved gracefully, replaced by a single word illuminating the chamber. Hope. Warm sunlight pierced the thinning clouds over Earth's skyline, bathing shattered cities in a glow they hadn't known since before the invasion. Elena stood atop the ruined Capitol building, watching distant fires slowly die, replaced by the first genuine hints of peace. The streets below buzzed with hesitant life, humans and Zakarians working side by side, carefully clearing rubble and sharing quiet conversations. It felt surreal, almost impossible, yet it was unfolding before her eyes. You still don't believe it? Alvek asked softly, stepping beside Elena. She glanced at him, a faint smile forming gently on her lips. I believe it, but trusting it takes time. We've been through too much. He nodded, reptilian eyes scanning the horizon thoughtfully. My people are confused. Some fear change, but most welcome it. They've forgotten freedom, Elena. You reminded them. She exhaled deeply, letting the truth of his words sink in. We reminded each other. Earth taught me hope, it took all of us to show your empire. Silence settled comfortably between them, broken only by distant sounds of reconstruction. A Zakarian shuttle descended nearby, engines humming quietly as figures emerged cautiously, representatives from both worlds meeting in awkward peace. Elena watched their uncertain exchanges carefully, her heart quietly hopeful. I still can't grasp it fully, Alvek confessed, breaking their thoughtful silence. Our empire once conquered without hesitation, yet here we are, humbled. It was always fear, Elena explained gently. Your people conquered others to escape your own vulnerability. Today showed them another way. He turned slightly, meeting her gaze with quiet respect. I believed humans were weak because you lacked our technology. Now I understand, strength comes from something deeper. Compassion, Elena agreed softly. Courage. The willingness to risk everything for something better. He hesitated, clearly weighing his thoughts before speaking again. Do you trust us now? Trust is fragile, Elena admitted carefully, sincerity evident in her eyes. But I trust you. And that's how trust grows, one person, one moment at a time. Alvek seemed moved by her answer, offering a respectful nod before quietly stepping back. Elena remained, reflecting on the immense weight of their choices. For the first time since the invasion, she felt lighter, hopeful. Yet shadows lingered, doubts she couldn't ignore completely. A voice called out urgently from below, breaking her thoughts. Elena turned quickly, spotting a human runner climbing rapidly toward her. Lieutenant Marquez, the young man gasped breathlessly, eyes wide. We've found Overlord Keth. He's requesting to speak with you, alone. Elena's heart quickened sharply, anxiety spiking instantly. Where? The old Senate chamber, he explained hurriedly. He surrendered peacefully, unarmed. Elena exchanged a tense glance with Alvek, who watched silently. She took a steadying breath, gathering composure. Let's finish this, she stated firmly, striding forward. The chamber was eerily quiet, once grand columns now scarred by war, echoing softly beneath Elena's footsteps. Keth sat quietly on a damaged stone bench, stripped of armor and power, gaze fixed downward. He raised his head as she approached, weary eyes lacking their former arrogance. You came, Keth noted quietly, voice empty of threat or anger. You asked, Elena responded cautiously, studying him carefully. Why? He hesitated, clearly gathering his pride. I was wrong. You showed strength, resilience, but also mercy, a concept I mocked as weakness. Today I see it clearly, and it shames me deeply. Elena stood silently, allowing his words to linger. Your empire caused immense pain. Apologies won't change that. I don't expect forgiveness, Keth admitted truthfully, meeting her gaze directly. Only understanding. You shattered our illusion of strength with courage alone. My empire, I feared your humanity precisely because we lacked it ourselves. Elena stepped closer, tone softer, more compassionate. Then help heal the damage you've caused. Earn forgiveness through action. Keth appeared startled, genuine confusion momentarily crossing his face. How? After everything I've done? You ruled by fear, Elena explained simply. Now lead by example. Help your people rebuild alongside ours, show them true strength means humility. He seemed to consider deeply, eyes shadowed by introspection. Finally, he nodded slowly. Perhaps redemption isn't impossible. But will they ever trust me? That's your challenge, Elena said gently but clearly. Trust isn't easily regained, but humanity respects those who genuinely try. A thoughtful silence stretched between them, heavy with possibility rather than tension. Keth stood carefully, posture humbled, yet quietly dignified. You've shown remarkable strength, Lieutenant, he acknowledged quietly. It deserves respect. Elena offered a faint, gracious smile, sensing sincerity within his remorse. Then let respect guide us from here. Together, they stepped from the ruined Senate chamber into sunlight warming shattered marble beneath their feet. Humans and Zakarians paused cautiously at the sight of their former conqueror now standing peacefully beside their fiercest symbol of resistance. Elena felt their questioning stares, uncertainty palpable. She lifted her voice firmly, confidently addressing the crowd. Today we start rebuilding, together. Our pasts may haunt us, but they don't define our futures. Strength lies in unity now, not division. A cautious murmur of agreement began spreading warmly among listeners, hesitation gradually melting into careful hope. Alvek approached, offering Elena and Keth a respectful nod. Others followed hesitantly, tension easing gradually into understanding. As the gathered crowd dispersed, Elena watched carefully. True healing remained distant, yet today marked the first genuine step forward, unity not enforced by fear, but chosen willingly. Alvek stood quietly beside her, voice low and sincere. "You've changed worlds today, Elena." "We did," she corrected warmly, smiling softly. "Humans and Zakarians. Together." He nodded thoughtfully. "I'm beginning to see that clearly now." Keth stood silently nearby, humbled but resolute, quietly assisting others clearing debris, working alongside humans he'd once oppressed. Elena observed carefully, hope slowly replacing lingering doubt. Change wasn't instant, nor easy, but it was possible, unfolding steadily before her eyes. Quietly, Elena stepped away, gazing skyward as evening approached gently, stars beginning to shine softly through twilight hues. Once symbols of distant threat, now they represented infinite possibility. Elena breathed deeply, finally feeling peace she'd long thought lost forever. The Empire's rule had crumbled, not violently, but quietly, gently eclipsed by understanding, courage, and humanity itself. Elena smiled faintly, understanding completely now. Freedom wasn't merely winning, it was choosing hope over fear, every day.